gotta go, okay? Daddy gotta work. I'm working, okay? Go ahead. Right. Oh.
Why are you so excited?
Guys, I'm excited. Me? Oh, yeah. Or are they hearing us? I think they're hearing us. Are you guys talking? Because I can't hear you if you are. Uh-oh. Skype, I think I lost you. There you go. I can hear you now. Okay, cool. Okay. There you go. I can hear you now. Okay, cool.
Hi, everybody.
Oh.
Hey, everyone.
Hello!
Surprise!
Out there in stream land. This is Stephen Sharif, creative director here at Intrepid Studios. I'm joined by Jeffrey Bard, lead designer.
Hi, everybody.
And game designer Peter Pallone.
How's it going?
We're excited to be here. We have an amazing guest who's going to be asking some awesome questions today. One of my personal favorite Twitch streamers out there when it comes to the MMORPG community, DocGotGame, everybody.
What is up? Woo!
Yeah.
Ready? What is up, guys?
Doc, I got to tell you, when we heard that you were going to be our guest today, I was super ecstatic because you have always been one of my favorite MMORPG specific Twitch streamers, just because of your passion for the genre. I think you have a great show and you have awesome input when it comes to the industry and when it comes to just MMORPGs in general. So I was really excited to be able to do this with you. I know we all are.
Yeah, totally.
No, I'm stoked and I'm so happy for you guys. I mean, you guys know how to put on a Kickstarter. Let me tell you, my goodness. I mean, wow. 1 minute I look up, I look up and I'm like, okay, cool. You know, they're trucking along quite nicely. The next thing I know, you guys are already surpassing the goal and everything. So congratulations to you guys on an amazing freaking Kickstarter, and it's nowhere near over. I haven't put anything in there yet, so hold on a little bit.
What? Whoa!
Hold on.
This?
Oh,
All right,
give me
cut the stream.
give me a few minutes here, guys.
No, it has
Get
been
involved.
totally awesome, and we couldn't do it without everybody out there. You know, it's been one heck of a ride, and it's only been a week.
I know, yeah.
So,
officially 1 week today.
Yeah.
And I think we're $3,000 away from hitting our $1,500,000 mark. That unlocks our expanded naval content, additional ships, and content under the water. So
Yeah.
we're pretty excited about that.
It might happen on this stream.
Ooh.
That would be
We'll
awesome.
see.
No.
Got my fingers crossed. Wait, we can't hear Doc.
Yeah.
Doc?
Doc's
Yep,
there.
can you guys hear me?
Oh, no, yeah, we got you. We got
You got me? Okay, cool.
I
cool,
got
cool.
him.
I'll put
Do
the
you
mic a
have
little
him?
closer to my mouth here.
I have him
Jeff,
super low.
Jeff doesn't have Doc. Neither does Peter. Sorry.
Oh no!
Oh, man. So let's make sure we got that. Doc, give us a test real quick.
Sure. Test. 1 2 1 2. Microphone check.
Please, there we go.
Oh,
I don't have
You
him.
got it for Peter.
Check.
Got it for Peter.
1 2 1 2.
Not for
Microphone
Jeff,
check.
though.
I don't
Jeff's the
have
first one.
He's good for me.
All right, he's good for Peter.
Yeah.
I don't have him.
You still don't have them?
No.
Here,
he's
check
like
this thing.
silent.
Are you sitting on it, Jeff?
It should be silent. It should be silent.
There we go. And then plug that
So I
in.
think we were just changing the levels a little
There
bit
you go.
before the stream.
Sorry about
Two
that.
of us
All
got
right, sorry
thrown
about that,
off,
guys.
but I think
Can you
we're
test
back.
again?
So,
I literally can't hear
Doc,
him.
how about now?
Check.
Test again.
Yep, testing.
Oh,
testing.
we're good.
Okay, we're good.
thank you.
We got it. Okay.
And we're back.
Sweet.
So, sorry about that little audio slip up. So, Doc, you got some pretty awesome questions. We don't know exactly what all the questions are that you have, but that's just the way that we like it here. So, if you want to give us some pretty tough ones, you're welcome to.
Sure. No, I appreciate it. You guys have been. I watched a couple of the other two pieces of them, and you guys have been very open. So I'm ready to get going here. If I do ask a question that you guys have already answered, feel free to just shut up, Doc. We got that covered, and I'll move on to the next one. So
Sounds good.
But I figured I'd warm you guys up a little bit, start off with some general questions, and then get down to the nitty gritty. Probably be focusing a little bit on PvP and guilds, because that's, Steve, that's what I love. So.
Oh, I know. I know.
But I guess the first question would be, as the first major MMO gaining traction in the Unreal Engine, how do you feel you guys are going to hold up on a technical level? How do you feel the Unreal Engine is going to work? I mean, do you feel that it can live up to the expectations of you and the community?
Well, that's definitely a really good question, and I'll let Jeff answer a little bit of it. But first, I just want to let you know, Unreal Engine, being an engine created by Epic, is a really versatile engine that offers access to the source code and allows us to get into that back end and customize all the networking code that we need to do from us as developers in order to accommodate the goals that we have in game when it comes to large battles, whether it be PvP or PvE raids that we intend to have. Epic has awesome support. We have amazing engineers here in the studios, engineers who have been working with MMORPGs specifically for over 15 years.
Wow.
And have done a lot of that networking code. So we feel extremely confident that Unreal 4 is going to be able to to allow us that versatility and customization that we can introduce our own proprietary networking code when it comes to accommodating those goals.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can say it pretty simply in that we haven't run into anything that is going to be causing a problem. The flexibility of it has been amazing, and like Steven said, the support that they give us is pretty incredible. So yeah, there's so far so good. There haven't been any problems. All of our tests have been really good, really positive. So our guys know what they're doing, and the Epic guys know what they're doing, and together we form Voltron. So it's pretty great.
Yes, 5 in line. I like it. So my next question is going to be on you guys. Really, how communicative does the team plan on being when presenting changes to the community about the game, or garnering feedback from the community? And in my time of playing MMOs, I've come across some great initiatives where developers and publishers are communicating with their community. Hey, this is what we want to do. What do you think about it? We can make some changes if you don't like it. And then I've been on the other side of that spectrum where the game developer is like, this is what you're getting. Pick it up and love it, because we're not changing it.
Wow.
So, I've seen both spectrums of that. Where do you guys see yourself in that mix there?
So, I mean, the most important aspect of gaming for me in my life has always been the community, and I wanted to take that into the development end of things when it comes to MMORPGs, because I personally really haven't experienced the super communicative aspect that you have with some games. I've really only ever been on the other side of that spectrum, where as a gamer I didn't get any communication, and they were just saying, suck it up and enjoy the RNG boxes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for me, going into Ashes of Creation, it's always been at the forefront of what we are doing to make sure that we are as communicative as possible with our community. I'm on Discord, our rest of our team is on Discord, we're on Reddit, we're on our forums, we're engaging with the community on not just a developer with player interaction, but kind of like, hey, we're all a part of this MMORPG family. Our genre isn't a giant genre. We need to stick together so that what we're able to produce as an industry is going to be something that reflects the will, the desires of our players.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a challenge, right? There's a reason why a lot of developers don't do that, because it takes work. And we're willing to put in that work and to make sure that those communication pathways are back and forth, right? And ultimately at the end of the day, we want the health of the game to be what drives us. So that's having that feedback is super critical to making that kind of thing happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, great answer, and I appreciate it. What will the content release tempo be once the game is launched? How often will we see updates to the game on both a minor scale and a major scale? Again, I've been on both sides of the spectrum where, there's, the MMO developer is constantly releasing content every 3 months, and that's kind of what we're accustomed to if we're lucky. But I've also been on the, enjoy the RNG boxes. Where do you guys see yourself falling in terms of how often can we expect to get new shiny stuff?
I think the answer to that question is very often. I mean, first of all, being a subscription model allows us that ability to constantly be producing content. And when that is coupled with our node system and how we can release certain content through the node system, you're going to be seeing often there being developer updates and new chapters and new quest lines and storylines and a lot of stuff that relates to what is possible in this world based on player decision, and then we're just adding to that. We're constantly adding to that.
Yeah, I like these are really cloudy numbers, right? A lot of what we're going to do is going to depend on what the game is like at launch. But I know right now in my head we're planning on it at the very least quarterly big releases of stuff, and probably minor ones in between that. But again, until we get to that point, it's going to be hard to really nail down exactly how often those will come. But they'll be at least quarterly, and maybe faster than that.
And that's for the major ones, like every 3 months for the major ones. There could be smaller ones that come out, every month even, maybe like new quest lines, stuff like that. It just depends. Our node system is really versatile in that regard.
Yeah,
makes sense. It makes sense. So now I'm going to hit you for a bit of a dinger here, guys. I've been easy on you, but now I got to get a little, got to do a little something here. So. Gonna switch gears a little bit and ask the question, why PvP in Ashes of Creation? What benefits outside of the node associated benefits are there from PvPing in the game? Why bother? Why PvP in Ashes of Creation?
Well, the primary goal or central tenet in Ashes of Creation is you as the player, you as the community are here on this world to develop, to rebuild, repopulate, explore, and bring civilization back to this forgotten world. And that's the PvE aspect of it. The PvP mechanic is necessary to help catalyze change, because our node system works in a way that allows doors to be opened for certain content. And when you open a door, you leave a door behind sometimes. And we want PvP to allow you to go back and open up that door you left behind, potentially to explore that content that was locked off by development of a certain node. So, PvP for us is an aspect that is necessary when it comes to bringing meaning to the game's development and inside the storyline itself, allowing players to work together against not just an AI, but also against your fellow player if they have different objectives, different goals, different interests. And for me in the past playing MMORPGs, oftentimes PvP was done in a way that really didn't bring a lot of meaning to the game. It was really just something that was available, and players could exercise their political intrigue through PvP. But here in Ashes of Creation, PvP inflicts meaningful change throughout the world.
Change is basically the big word right there. Our node system really kind of almost depends on it, where if we let it go and there was no way to destroy these things, then they would just grow out, and then that would be it. That would be the game. We want people to be able to tear things down as much as we want them to build them up. So that's kind of the engine that keeps things going.
Right, and it keeps it fresh. It keeps it new. It is that phoenix of rebirth that comes out of the ashes of what PvP can bring.
Exactly. Sorry, did.
No, absolutely. Now, I know that there's going to be. I know you mentioned in a previous segment that there's going to be some form of, battleground or arena. Are there any plans? Well, can you elaborate on that? I love the notion of this node-centric MMOs. With the PvP surrounding it. what about that arena or that battleground PvP? Can you elaborate a little bit on what we can expect from there? Are there any rewards for participating in that PvP that's outside of the influence of the nodes?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we are intending to have battlegrounds. We do intend to have arenas. We intend to have ladders and participation that reflects your skill and abilities within those specific systems. We definitely are going to have those in Ashes of Creation. In addition to that, we have open world battlegrounds that can be organic in the sense that our caravan is a necessary tool, a mechanic that transits goods between regional marketplaces and systems, localities that depend on resources being brought there, which is dependent upon the players to do that. And these caravans, bring with them a static PvP zone that's based off of proximity. And if there are players within that area, they're going to be queued with a user interface that says, do you want to participate to attack, defend, or ignore this caravan? And players get to participate in this kind of moving, dynamic battleground that exists out in the open world, which has a lot of risk versus reward mechanics for players to either succeed in transiting those goods or be taken by these bandits whose interests are to take those goods. We have castle systems that reflect, exert control over the world around it and the nodes that exist within the regions, but can be a source of additional protection for the transit of those goods or for the protection of those nodes, or could not. We have a lot of systems in place, both open world and in the arena.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes with arenas, it's just like you want to break from the world and you want to go out and do something fun for a short period of time. So we want people to have that option and to be able to just like, hey, I'm going to take a break from the world for a second and kill some fools.
Right.
Right.
I know people have that competitive edge. We want to enable them to live that out and be competitive. So.
Yeah.
Now, can a pirate or player killer flourish in this game, or is he limited by the penalties that he has? Can a bad guy make it in this game if he wants to?
Well, I think to a degree. I mean, we want to incentivize meaningful conflict, meaningful PvP, obviously. We don't want it to become a gank box or a murder box, which is why we've instituted our open world flagging system, which kind of deters just outright PKing of non-combatants. I mean, if you're running around and you see other players and you want to just murder them, we don't want to incentivize that. And our flagging system gives you corruption if you do kill non-combatants. And corruption is not a good thing. It's not beneficial for you. And in addition to that, that corruption decreases your effectiveness when it comes to combat. So you just can't go down a PKing spree and expect to be effective after a period of time.
Right, like if your goal is just to make another player's day worse, right? There's probably not a game there for you.
Yeah.
If you're there to actually accomplish something, then there's going to be a good reason to do it, and there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to succeed. So it really depends on what your motivation is and what you're trying to gain.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a scenario in which, I've seen definitely people discussing our PvP flagging system and saying, well, hey, people are just going to kill me anyways. This corruption doesn't sound like a significant enough deterrence, and I'm going to get spawn camped or something. I assure you, in our flagging system, that's not possible. Somebody's not going to be spawn camped. The corruption system will accrue enough penalties after a short period of time that person's effectiveness in PvP is not going to be capable of allowing them to sit there and spawn camp you. In addition, we have a bounty hunter system as well that's going to take people who do accrue that corruption. They're going to be a target for people that want to go out there and take out these murderers.
But at the same time, to the lesser degree of away from the gank box, when Stephen referenced caravans, if your identity is that you want to go and you just only want to attack them with the open PvP zone, you could totally do that.
And there's a meaning behind that.
Right, and there's a motivation, there's a meaning, there's a reward, there's an identity associated with that act. These are the types of things that we want to incentivize.
And it's the same thing. I mean, everything reverts back to a risk and reward. I mean, oftentimes, if your reward carries no risk, then it has no meaning to you. There's no satisfaction in having achieved something. So we want to make sure that whether it comes to the transit of goods, or it comes to the development of civilization, or it comes to the keeping of a whole of a castle, there is significant risk that's applied to those based on the activities of your opponents in the world that makes it satisfying for you to hold that keep, or to defend that city, or to earn your reward for transiting that mithril or iron or whatever. That balance is necessary, and you have to make sure that there is a significant realm of playground for you in the PvE aspect of things, in the crafting aspect of things, in the trading aspect of things, so that you bring both meaning to that reward, and you also give meaning to those who just want to tear stuff down. I mean, because those people exist.
Absolutely.
And they're a healthy dynamic when it comes to creating a world that rewards both sides.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Now I gotta ask this question, Steve. I know you can relate a little bit. Is there any RNG when upgrading gear? Can your gear be broken or downgraded when we're talking about upgrading or doing anything at all with crafting here?
So crafting is going to be recipe based, and it is not going to involve RNG when it comes to crafting up. No, it will not involve RNG. It will involve getting out in the world and getting rare items and killing monsters and bosses, epic bosses that are going to create epic gear. And it's going to come down to potentially even taking that epic gear and deconstructing it to learn how it works so that you can produce it in the future as a master crafter. It's going to come down between working together with different paths of the artisan class, whether you're a processor, a gatherer, or an item creator. We're not going to see RNG in our crafting system. There may be some elements of RNG when it comes to over enchanting beyond what an item is, but you'll be able to determine what that item is going to be when you're crafting it based on the recipes that you're using and the materials that you found and the resources that you gathered. But if you want to take that extra step and risk something when it comes to making your sword of Jeffrey, your sword of Jeffrey.
The sword of Jeff.
If you want to make it a +10 sword, that's a different story. Obviously there's going to be some potential RNG to that. And then in addition, there's drop table RNGs that are going to obviously exist in the game as well for like what you kill and things. But
okay.
Yeah, not when it comes, not a game that should not be spoken. No, you will not see that degree of RNG.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we're really trying to focus on making crafting fun, making crafting something that everybody can work together towards, and that there's a game there, right? That it's not just I'm sitting at a UI window all day long and that's all I do, right? We want it to be a fun, engaging part of your gameplay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My next question is about mounts. I don't know if this has been asked before, but is there going to be mount-specific combat, and if so, or if not, can mounts be killed by other players?
So mounts could be, yes, killed by other players. There will be some mount-specific abilities that will be had by particular mounts, and those abilities could pertain to some combat scenarios. But specifically, if you're asking can I use my ranger abilities while atop a mount? We're not going to be doing that. No, you won't be able to participate with your class skills while mounted. It's just going to be limited to what the mount specifically is capable of doing.
Okay, fair enough. Now, how will smaller guilds be able to compete with larger guilds? I understand that there's an alliance system that's going to be in place, but are there any integrated systems from the game standpoint to prevent one mega blob from ruling everything, or having multiple guilds grief one smaller guild? Is there anything in place for that?
So absolutely. I mean, when designing Ashes of Creation, it was very important for us to make sure that we were able to focus on certain systems that applied to smaller groups, smaller organizations, and they had a place within those systems, and then also having the application of larger guilds and larger groups. There's a lot of different things that smaller groups can do better than larger groups, and we wanted to make sure that we focused on focused on those systems when it comes to sieges, there will be roles for smaller groups to play. When it comes to developing certain structures within a node, smaller groups will have an advantage of, and another thing that's a huge aspect of probably something you and I both, Doc, have experienced in the past is with games that really emphasize Zerg play. One of the primary components is the ability of that Zerg to form in a very short period of time and port immediately to some location that needs their attention, right? I mean, that's part of what Zerg play is. Yeah. And I think in our game with removing that fast travel mechanic and including, meaningful travel that takes time to reach certain places, you're not going to see as much of a development of that Zerg play. If a caravan is moving out from a city and a large guild doesn't catch wind of it until it begins moving, they likely will not have the time to organize, form, and reach that point by the time that caravan reaches its location. And I think that's a big aspect of cutting back the potential for Zergs to control things in the game.
We really want strategy to be a part of the guild lexicon, right? We want guilds to have to plan and to have people in the right place at the right time in order to like exert their influence on the world. Mm-hmm. So that's a big part of it. And having alliances with smaller guilds, allowing them to get into places that a bigger guild might not necessarily be there. Right. Guilds that call their home in one town versus another town is going to really kind of affect how the world works. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely going to be a lot of small parts. We were talking earlier about
guild leveling.
Yeah, about how guild levels may. Actually, maybe we don't talk about that.
Well, we can give a little overview.
Sure.
Go for it. Okay, so obviously, whoops, did we lose the stream? Are we good? I can't see. Oh, okay, sorry. So, obviously everything we're saying is brought into the light of, we have alphas and we have betas where we're going to test some of these philosophies, okay? And part of that testing is obviously going to be getting the community's feedback on certain systems and mechanics. I mean, one of the things we're talking about is when it comes to guild progression specifically and what skills are available during the guild progression, we have a very intricate guild system that involves different levels and different progression aspects and questing, specific guild questing. And as you're advancing that guild in its progression, you have the ability to either expand or focus in on a smaller guild. So let's say, for example, you're a group of 20 people and you want to level your guild, but you're not interested in expanding it to 100 people or 150 people because you really just want to stay that tight-knit group.
Right.
Well, if you're going to forego the additional membership slots, you'll have the ability to focus in on some stronger skills or some more honed specific skills that are available to your group of 20 that the larger guild who chose to go the route of more membership slots doesn't have access to. Wow. And I think that's a good way to balance how smaller guilds can interact with larger guilds in the game. I look up and I see that elephant just running across the screen.
We've also talked about fortresses having like
right.
scaling for sizes,
yeah, absolutely.
Having smaller size guilds being able to siege fortresses.
We did it!
We just reached 1.5 million.
Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Congratulations to you guys.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone.
Awesome.
Very
Well
cool.
That's
done.
a huge milestone for us.
That is awesome. So what comes with that is our enhanced ocean.
Yes,
content.
yeah. So that's going to be coming.
That's pretty exciting.
Ship warfare and underground or underwater.
We got to
zones.
get an update on that just to show a little bit, talk a little bit more about that. But no, what Peter was saying, I'm sorry, about world events and world-specific locations like guild halls, fighting over guild halls. We have mechanics that are geared towards smaller guilds and larger guilds, and a place for those two separate identities.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic. That just tickles me pink. Now, speaking of guilds, I mean, I've played MMOs where you can thrive as a solo player. I've played MMOs where you really need to be in a guild. Where does Ashes of Creation fit into that? Can a solo player thrive with the mechanics of the game, or do you really want to be in a guild to experience the most of what Ashes of Creation has to offer? Excuse me.
You know, go ahead.
Sorry, I was
Take
going
it.
to say we always focus on the micro and the macro when it comes to our design. We want to make sure that as a solo player, we realize there are solo players out there, and they should have a role, right? It doesn't mean that they don't necessarily need to they don't have to work with other people. That's always going to be part of it,
Right.
But our content isn't locked behind guilds.
Right, that's absolutely true. And I think it's important to note that by merely joining an MMORPG, you are becoming a part of a community already.
Right.
I mean, yes, you can be a solo player, but simply playing an MMORPG makes you a part of the community in some degree. And I think there's, as Jeff was saying, micro, macro, there's a lot of macro systems that include solo players in some sense of community within the game, whether it be developing a node that you're a citizen of, or working on certain buildings and getting those buildings up and running in those nodes, or participating in the raids, in the dungeons, and building your freehold. Those systems, those mechanics, while not needing you to be a part of a guild, does have you a part of a community. And I think that's why it's possible to both be a solo player or a guild player in our game, because ultimately at the end of the day, you are part of a community no matter what.
Right.
And I think we approach it trying to understand and very cognizant of the fact that motivations differ. And there's a wide spectrum of motivations, and that the solo player, let's say that they're going out and just either today they decide to do only quests and that's all they're going to do today. By doing that, they are contributing to the area they're in.
Yes.
They're affecting my play experience,
Right.
Jeff, Steve's. We wanted that's the whole reason for the node system, is that everyone gets a contribution, into the pool, right, so to speak. So we want everyone having some type of feedback, no matter what your motivation.
Right. That's true.
Makes sense.
Good point.
So speaking of guilds, I heard the tingling of guild skills and how guild leaders are going to be able to specialize their guilds. What tool will guild leaders have to bring the guild together? Are there going to be any guild missions or guild specific activities that a guild leader can initiate or an officer can initiate to get the guild rolling, or is it all about just collectively doing whatever individuals are doing at the time?
There's going to be a lot of tools to guild leaders and
Steven's a big guild guy, so
Yes, I know. I know.
he's got some wants and desires. Let's say that.
I am definitely a big guild guy, but don't get that wrong. If you're a solo player, there's a lot of, there's an equilibrium there between
I
the
didn't
two.
agree with
Yeah, no, I know. But no, I am a big guild guy, and there's going to be, it's going to knock your socks off, Doc. I'm telling you right now, the amount of guild activity in this game, from a tool standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, from a delegation standpoint, from activities and quest lines and storylines and development and skills and passives that are available to the guild halls and the castles and the node political systems. There is just so much that these communities within the game can partake in, I think it's going to be one of a kind.
Yeah, the tool set that guild leaders are going to have is going to be pretty robust. We're going all out on it, so guild leaders should have plenty of good ways of recruiting, good ways of managing and maintaining their guild, good ways of communicating to their guild and motivating that guild and getting that guild to an actionable place.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I'm excited. I'm excited. If Steve said it's going to be good, then it's going to be good, damn it. So, I'm not sure how much time we have left, but...
I think you got some time.
Okay, all right.
Maybe
awesome.
5-10 more minutes?
Yeah, 5-10 more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, going back a little bit to PvP, in your opinion, from where you sit, can someone play the game and live purely in the PvP of Ashes of Creation? Can I log in and get a good solid, let me be nice here, 4 to 5 hours of just raw PvP content in Ashes of Creation?
That's a tough question.
That's a really hard question.
I don't.
A lot of it depends on the community and what it's doing.
I would say my first inclination as an answer to that would be purely no. I think that you're going to naturally, if you're playing the game, come across aspects that are going to involve you with the environment and going out there and either questing for certain things, killing certain monsters, even interacting with the economy if you need gear, stuff like that. But a large predominant portion could be reflected of the arena system and battlegrounds and being a bandit, and yes, there would be a large portion of that that's possible, obviously. But
it just really depends on what that server is doing, right? Like I imagine that there are going to be servers that are pretty PvP heavy, and there's always something crazy going on. And I imagine quieter servers where people kind of keep to themselves. So it really just depends on what the community is doing and what they decide to do with their day.
I mean, there's a lot of avenues to PvP
Yeah.
in our game, right? So I think it really depends on, with that question, what specifically like you're wanting to do on that day. There's so many avenues to get to your endpoint of the broad stroke PvP, right? That there's so much that I think you can just approach that from. That really, I don't know the hours down to the minutes.
No, of course.
Right?
I
know there's a lot that you can do.
I just get
to
hesitant when I hear the word purely. I mean, I don't want to make an emphatic statement that yes, there is you can purely do it this way.
Right.
Obviously, there's going to be some give and take between your time to advance and progress in the game that might require certain things, that are PvE reflective.
Of course.
But there's going to be a large possibility of PvP-oriented players having a lot of PvP-oriented things to do, and the same is true on the PvE side. Like if you're a PvE player who doesn't want to participate in PvP all the time or really wants to avoid PvP to a large degree, there's going to be many things that are possible for you to do in the game that reflect only a PvE experience. We're not forcing players to do one or the other. There is a healthy balance in the game that's going to reflect those two systems. And they both have to have a lot of tender love and care when developing that, right? But I would stay away from words like purely, just because I can't predict.
Yeah, it's really hard to predict.
No, absolutely, it makes sense. It makes sense. Now, speaking of servers, I heard servers. How do the servers get broken down? Are there going to be multiple channels per server where you can switch, kind of like an MMO that's currently in existence now? Or is it, if you're on the server, you're on the server, I can find you wherever you are?
It's going to be the latter. If you're on the server, you're on the server. He's talking about servers with separate channels.
Right.
We're having separate servers.
Right.
And those servers will have their own population.
Yeah. For the node system, we really need a system like that. Because
Thank you.
we need a system like that because of how different each world is going to be. Based on how nodes evolve and things evolve, there may be things unlocked on one server that aren't unlocked on another server.
Right.
And so it's pretty necessary that the populations remain where they started.
And that's one of the most defining aspects of what sets Ashes of Creation apart from what's been done in the industry for the past 17 years, 18 years, whatever. It is the fact that each server will tell that different story.
Right.
Our system is designed so that content is chosen by the players. It's like that. I mean, when I was a kid, I really loved the Goosebumps series. Did you ever read Goosebumps? I loved Goosebumps, okay?
All right.
And there was a version of the Goosebumps book that was called Choose Your Own Adventure. And it wasn't a Goosebumps specific thing, but it was my favorite book to read because at the bottom of the page, you'd have a choice. Do you open the door on the right, or do you walk down the hallway on your left? And if you open the door on your right, you turn to page 67, and something happens, obviously. So it was that kind of philosophy of choosing your own adventure that I had never seen done before in an MMORPG, and it just made sense. Why is this not the case? I mean, all the technological tools are there from a design element to get this thing done this way, and no one just has done that. They've played with it a little bit, but from a purely server architecture standpoint, from a design pillar, it has never been done before, and I thought it was the coolest idea. For a population as close-knit as the MMORPG community is, to have that agency over the direction of a narrative in the server. And I think it's going to be really cool when you see those servers have different narratives.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be cool for players, right? Because one thing that happens on one server might not happen on another server, and people can talk about that, right? Like there's like we talk about player story all the time, and player story is where that real story happens. When we talk about MMOs and we talk about our experiences, it's those stories that we love to tell. So
Always.
we want as many opportunities for that kind of storytelling to happen across as many places as we can.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think like every time I would speak with anybody, old guildmates who maybe come into my TeamSpeak server or whatever after 4 years of not coming in, when we begin to rehash stories of the past, it's always about, man, do you remember that one time outside this city when we had that fight that lasted 4 straight hours and like, yeah, I was rezzing you and you like lost an entire level or something. It's like, those are the stories that really stick with you as a gamer that you can't get from just doing other social activities like, watching TV.
And a story like that changes the server,
know,
right? Like
it
that's
does
the cool part about it,
entirely.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's actual consequences to
Absolutely.
it, rather than just being a story we're telling each other.
And that's what we really wanted to do. We wanted to give the tools for players to do that over and over again, to
Yeah.
have those server-defining moments, to have those stories that are going to stick with them, years down the road that they can remember. Man, that was a really fun night, and it
Yeah.
stuck with me.
No, I love it. I love it. I hate the channel system, so that answer couldn't have gone any better for me. So thank you. Oh my goodness. So, next question would be,
This will probably have to be the last question.
last question.
Yes.
Okay, last question
Okay.
of the night.
So choose wisely.
Okay.
No pressure.
Well, you guys have hit me good, so will there be an auto-run pathing system in the game? Can you?
An auto-run pathing
Auto-run.
system.
So is that like,
You can.
I don't know about pathing system, but you could potentially press like the numlock key and your character just
Oh,
runs.
what I mean is,
Right, do you mean like
You-
a personal character directed due to a button press or something?
Like I choose a waypoint and I run to it?
yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not, no.
Probably
I would say.
not.
What?
Yeah, you basically.
Yeah.
Right.
We
Q2
might have
had-
some fast travel options that are similar to that.
Oh, you mean between like
Right,
roads and
right,
stuff?
point to point.
Yeah. Like you could have faster travel, right? Not fast travel. But you could have faster travel where you summon a mount or something from the gate of one node, and you're like, hey, I want to go to a node over here, and it's just like, all right, so you begin moving along the road potentially with that mount. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a good question. We don't have an answer totally.
I
for that.
got you, baby.
Yeah, that's the last one. Should have cut you off.
You saved the best for last.
Save the best for last. Oh my goodness. Epic.
Well, hey, DocGotGame, it was a pleasure for us to have you
Yeah,
here,
that was a
buddy.
lot of fun, man.
Yeah,
I am a
thank you. Great
huge fan
questions.
of your stream. I love your passion
Thank you.
when it comes to MMORPGs, and I was honored to have you here with us today,
absolutely. Thanks
asking
for
us
coming,
some
man.
cool questions.
No, thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to plunk down some money on what's going to be an amazing MMO. Thank you for giving us.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you so
We
much for the
appreciate it.
support.
Later, buddy.
All right, take care, guys.
All right. I love DocGotGame.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun.
He's a
Great
cool
questions.
guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, and he has a really strong passion for the community, and I think
Yeah.
that I love his take on the industry and just the genre in
Yeah,
general.
totally agree.
We had some questions
have
that we
Reddit
didn't get
questions.
to
That we said.
last
1.5
time.
Sorry to
million
everyone.
guys.
Hey,
Yes. 1.5.
Awesome. That is so cool. Amazing support, amazing community. We really cannot express enough our heartfelt gratitude for all the support that you guys have shown us. And it means so much to us to just look out in the sea of the MMORPG genre and say, all these people coming out saying, hey, you're onto something. This is, you guys are going the right direction.
Feels good, man. Feels
It
good.
does feel good. So we didn't get to some questions last time. What questions do we have, Peter?
All
Do we have
right.
water over there?
We do. I have so much water.
Thank you. I love water.
Okay. The first
wanna
one comes from
I didn't want to drink it out of that. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
first one comes from Big One Chris. Will races affect your classes?
Yes.
Yes, races will affect your classes. So
So we've talked about the secondary system
Right.
For classes, how you pick a primary class and a secondary class. Race is going to function similarly to that.
yeah, so like you'll have racial augments that are capable of being applied to active skills. And those augments are going to be a reflection of the flavor of that specific race. In addition, races will have differing degrees of stats. and our game in our class system relies on certain stats to achieve different metrics in the game when it comes to damage, defense, and landing rates, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we wanted race to be an identity, and that's part of that system, right? We don't want it just to be a skin. We want it to actually mean something when it comes to the actual gameplay. So yeah, it will.
And it
will
doesn't
affect
mean
your
that
class.
anything is race locked.
Right.
All the
That's
classes
important.
are playable
Yeah.
through all races. So and there could potentially there can be some metas for certain classes with some races, but there's a high customization. So like there's a lot of different focuses that each class can have.
Right. There's a lot of space.
Right. There's a lot of space there.
Okay, this next one is by Muino. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
Muino.
What kinds of benefits will religion give players, and will players be able to practice multiple religions?
So players will not be able to practice multiple religions at the same time. You will focus on your religious class and progressing down that class. And if you want to switch religions, there may be a mechanic for that,
Right.
obviously. But
We
you'll
haven't gotten to that
lose-
point yet, but
you'll probably
yeah.
lose progression in the religion that you come from.
Right.
And there's going to be some type of hierarchical structure to the religion class that involves the community as a whole. And people's progressions in that religion, and then that religion's progression in the development of the world as well. Whether or not certain temples are built in
Right.
different nodes are going to progress that religion, and each religion will also have, if it's progressed far enough, potentially augments that become religious specific augments as well. We're still working on that. So.
Yeah. But to make a long story short, we want religion to be a pretty big motivator in the game. It's a big part of the lore, and we want that reflected in the mechanics too.
This guy's name. All right. Anamnesis 007.
Anamnesis.
Sorry,
like a
I'm sure I
spy.
butchered that, so my apologies. How easy will it be to get to other portals in starting zones so that you can play with your friends early on?
How easy will it be? Or how much time will it take?
Yeah, I
'Cause
mean,
it could be relatively easy, but just take a good amount of time.
Right. So I think it's like a problem that it's an issue that we understand is there, right? And I think that we want fast travel to not be an easy method of something happening. We want travel to matter, and I
Right.
think we want that to be a theme in our game.
I think another thing is and we haven't fully discussed this. So I think we're deciding that it could be possible for you to choose your starting portal.
right.
And you don't have to be locked behind what your race is. You can choose your race and then choose your divine portal as well.
Right, and that probably
Will be
would
the
be
case.
more along the lines of where we want to go with that, rather than making it easy to go from one portal to another, because they are going to be pretty far apart, and the distances are pretty considerable. So,
Right.
And the world is pretty large.
yeah,
Right.
So
Okay, next one is by Sandal.
Ooh, nice name.
All right, great
Awesome
name.
Oh wait, hold on.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
there you go.
Appreciate it.
Will Ashes have a character client that will allow players to create and customize their characters and test their PCs before the game launches?
Let's see. They want a separate client for their
I think
character.
Early
Right.
access client to the
Almost like
character
a benchmark.
customization
Yeah.
screen.
So that's something we would very much like to do.
Yes.
It's not something we can promise at this point. We're going to be way more focused on getting the game done.
Right.
If we can break that out into a client pretty easily, and have enough cycles for that in our design, we will do that. It's something we want to do. But again, it's going to really depend on where we are at that point. We want to. It's a goal, but
I feel
it's a
like,
soft goal.
I feel like it's a very achievable goal.
Yeah.
But we just don't want to say something and not hold true to it. So. I think it's achievable, and we'll probably have that because it's a really cool aspect to be able to sit and play with your character customization suite. And
Oh,
get
yeah,
your
no
thing
doubt,
down
no
and,
doubt. I mean-
save it and ready to go with it and that kind of stuff. I think it's cool. It's a great idea.
Okay, the next one is by Zoot101. Will players be able to have optional surnames for their characters?
Yes.
Yeah, easy one. Next question.
Why did I even put down my phone? All right. Double DZ99. Can we expand on the character customization and emoji packs available in the Kickstarter? Can we talk about them?
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, totally. Want to talk about
Want
it?
to talk about it?
You can talk about it.
Yeah,
I'll
you
talk
wanna
about
talk
it.
Sure. So, for example, in the character customization, we're talking about things that are like hairstyles or tattoos or things like scars. You know,
Yeah.
things
Right.
that involve in your actual character creation portion.
Yeah.
That would go into that type of pack. For
And that
emojis, you could talk about, you know, let's say you're an elf. You could buy the elf emoji pack, so now it looks like elves are, you know, smiling, right? It's
Right.
that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just an additional flair
Right.
to like
Yeah.
you know your either chat or your character representation. I mean, we're gonna have a wide array of character customization and like eye colors and you know skin colors and hairstyles and like eyebrow things and chin whatever, you know what I mean?
Eyebrow things.
There's gonna be a lot of stuff that's available just out of the box.
Right.
And then the additional stuff from the character customization packages are going to be like, you know, what kind of scars you can have, like different types of scars, like you said, or, you know, different hairstyles, or different eyebrow things, or, you know, whatever.
Eyebrow things.
Who knows?
But
what
the
they
idea
are.
there's definitely to be robust up
Right,
front and, you
absolutely.
know, have additional options.
Yes, yeah.
Like you see on the Kickstarter.
You're not going to have like one face to choose from, and like
Right.
it's like you
Five
better
faces and three
buy this
hairstyles.
package,
Yeah,
or you
no,
only
right.
get to be one person.
gonna be
No, there's
plenty
gonna
of
be
options.
A
Yeah.
whole stuff that you can choose from without having any of the additional packages.
Okay, so Taco Man 2014.
All right.
Will Ashes have epic quest lines such as in EverQuest?
Okay, so in EverQuest, there were these really amazing class-defining items that you could go on epic quests for. These quests would take sometimes months at a time to complete. We're not going to have a system that's exactly that, but there will be epic quests, right?
Yes.
Not in the EQ sense,
Right.
but in the like, oh my god, that's epic.
in the Ashes sense.
In the Ashes sense.
Yeah.
You know, they probably won't be for specific items, right? They'll be more for, you know, maybe a God Forge hidden somewhere, or
Right.
maybe, you know, it'll help you to do things in the world and to unlock extra content, but not necessarily maybe to find the best, most class-defining sword. It might help you make the best, most class-defining sword, but it won't be an end in and of itself.
Right, that's true. Yeah, but I think that the main tenet there is like, hey, this is something that took a lot of time on
Right.
behalf of the player or players,
And has a
they
lot of
have
secrets
great-
and a lot of things
Yes,
to figure out
exactly.
and a lot of
Yes.
depth to it. We're definitely going
and it
down
has
that
a
road.
strong reward too
Right.
for that time. Yes,
Yeah.
there is absolutely going to be those epic legendary quests, just not in the same way.
Right.
Okay, Nikos 86. Will players be able to easily swap between builds?
So at the moment, you know, we've discussed and are very likely to have the ability for players to swap between their secondary classes. And we said a little earlier, even between their like religious stuff.
Right.
You know, that could reach out a little bit further potentially. We're going to be playtesting that to a degree when
Right.
alpha comes around, obviously. But I think right now, on the primary class aspect of things, we haven't decided on whether or not that swapping is going to be.
Yeah, we keep going
tactic.
back and forth. There's a lot of reasons to and a lot of reasons against. So it's something we're still playing with. And you know, when we get to a decision on that, we'll definitely let you guys know.
Yeah.
Okay,
But to fix that a little bit, for the build that you've built for your character, right, that will probably be fairly easily changed. Whether your class can change
within the
is a
character.
different question.
Yeah, for sure. What about the build for water? Is there any more water?
There's more water.
nice.
I'm sorry,
you go.
I get dry, my mouth get dry. I don't want to cough on the street.
It's like the endless water thing.
Oh, it's
there.
wonderful.
I can't believe
I love it.
This one doesn't have a name, but what are the available loot distribution mechanics? So
Available
like
loot
master loot,
distribution.
need greed,
Oh.
that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
there's
Yes.
the answer to that is yes.
Right, basically all of them. Right. and
Yeah,
like-
I mean, we're going to go probably pretty standard with that. It's a system that works and it works well.
Right.
So no need to reinvent the wheel on that. There may be specific things like events and how
Did
we.
you see that new Goodyear wheel that's like perfectly circular?
I did not see that.
They're reinventing the wheel, so maybe we should on loot mechanics.
Well, maybe. Scared me, Steve.
I'm just kidding. No, yeah, pretty standard.
Pretty standard. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be too.
That's all the questions for Reddit.
Oh, all right.
right.
Well, how about what time is it? Do we have any more time?
We've got.
It's 352.
352.
Oh, so we got 8 more minutes. Let's field some questions from the Twitch chat.
Oh God, here we go.
We're doing it live. Do it live. Do it live. Throw the table over. No.
Don't throw the table at me.
Okay. We
We're gonna
won't.
throw it
Then
at
they'll
you.
see what's in the briefcase.
Oh, we can't
do it.
show that. We gotta.
Close that thing.
Oh,
Stop
sorry.
messing with
I
it.
didn't know it was open. I was getting stuff out of
I
it.
think they can see what's inside it
No,
on
they
the reflection on my screen.
No.
Yeah, they were asking.
It's locked. The football's locked.
Robot asks, will, oh gosh, it keeps moving. Will resources be replenished? I.e., if you mine something, will it come back at a later point? Or will you be able to, like, deforest an area?
So I think the answer to that is a combination of both.
It's like
answers.
when, right? It's
Right.
when will that happen?
Yes.
It's not going to be like the little rock that you've been hitting for the last 5 seconds.
Right.
It disappears,
No.
and then another rock appears 45 minutes later, right? That's not going to be how the crafting system works. It'll be,
It'll be more like vein oriented, where you discover a vein of ore you know,
Right.
instead of a single rock that goes away. And that vein of ore has so much of a supply.
Right.
And when that supply is diminished, that vein is gone, and who knows for how long.
Right.
Like, and it could reappear halfway across the world. It could come next season back to this region. You know,
Right.
it's
There's a lot of things involved in the repopulation of assets. There will always be stuff to mine, right? There will always
Right.
be something to gather, but you won't always be able to find it where you expect to find it.
Right. Yeah. And I think that plays again. I mean, the reason for that is because our economies are separated into these regional economies that incentivize transit of goods. So you know,
Right.
we want to make sure that, like, if a town forms next to a mithril mine because that mithril mine was there and it disappears, like
It changes the whole flavor of
yeah,
that.
exactly. It
Right.
changes
And also,
entirely.
it's incredibly important for an economy to actually replenish in general. Just,
Right.
You know, to say that, like, if you cut down all of the trees in the world, you need trees to come back somehow.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so that's like super
Yeah.
important.
Plant some trees.
Right.
A tree planting class.
Tree planting. Yeah.
Will there be a Baconator world boss?
The answer to that
In real life?
is there he is. He is a raid boss. We can't comment
We don't want to
on
reveal too
future
much of the
design.
lore.
Right.
Future lore. Nice.
Can we give an amount of people needed to be in a guild to own a castle?
No,
the
I don't
weird-
know the answer.
Yeah,
Like, I
'cause
mean,
it's-
there's obviously it's dependent on the rest of the server and like
Right.
what their activity is.
It's more about like the overall development currently
Right.
of the server and like
Yeah.
how it splits than actual.
And who's
tribal
actually
and-
participating in that,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it could be just a few people, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
well,
nobody's
like-
defending it and nobody's attacking it.
If nobody's defending it, well,
Right.
You
that
know.
would be an interesting scenario. But yeah, it could be, could be as small as 30 and as big as a couple hundred. It all
right.
depends on like what the situation is, what's the political landscape.
But it is scalable, right? Like
For
that's-
sure,
yeah, so
absolutely,
it's-
totally.
It's if that's what you're looking for, that's
Yeah.
the answer to that, I think.
All right, Helix asks, what are we going to do to make orcs great again?
Were orcs ever not great?
I think orcs were always.
I think they're pretty
cool.
great.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
pretty. They're definitely big league.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I said big league, not big league. So that's,
Oh, okay. That doesn't make it better. One of the orc races, the Vec, are my favorite race. They are. I am such a big fan of them.
now you've just slanted the entire population of some server to Vec.
I'm sure I have. I want to see the orc horde happen. I want to see the orc horde.
Oh my god.
But yeah, they will be great, and I'm pretty excited about them. So,
Unbelievable.
We'll be doing more lore announcements here probably
Soon.
relatively soon.
Soon trademark.
Soon trademark TM.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're pretty excited about the direction we're going there.
Well, I think that's all for the questions today. Congratulations, everybody, on 1.5.
Yes!
We're
That was
about
amazing.
we're about to post a couple of new backer goal and stretch goal in recognition of our latest achievement. And again, from everybody here at Intrepid Studios, we cannot thank you all enough for the amazing support that you've shown Ashes of Creation. It is absolutely just a reinforcement of our passion and will to get this game done and the way that it should be done. We're happy to see that all of you are on board, and get out there and help us spread the word as you have been doing. We appreciate it. Feel free to join us on Discord. Make sure you guys are on our forums, and we'll see you out there. We'll see you on Wednesday, 3
Yep,
o'clock.
see you
Wednesday at 3 o'clock.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.